So, Ruben, what did you think? I really liked it. How'd you feel about it?
I really did not like it. And I will say that this is a cartoon.
Hey there, it's movie night. And Ruben, tonight we're going to go ahead and review the movie Blackboard Jungle, 1955 film directed by Richard Brooks. And Ruben, this film had a lot of stars. It had Glenn Ford as Richard Dadier, Anne Francis as Anne Dadier, Lewis Calhern as Jim Murdoch, Basil Rushdale as Professor A.R. Crawl, Sidney Poitier, one of his first films, one of the first ones, called his name was Gregory W. Miller in the film, and then Vic Morrow makes an appearance as Artie West. Ruben, this is based on a novel by Evan Hunter. This is a writer who actually was a teacher. Well, sure, he was a substitute teacher for about 17 days in the Bronx, and he writes a story where it's set in a tough part of the town. I think it is set in the Bronx. They never say where it's set, but you have the feeling it's in a tough neighborhood in New York. There's a teacher, Mr. Ford, right, Glenn Ford, who comes in and he wants a teaching job. And it's a tough school when there's a lot of teachers applying because that must mean there's a lot of positions open. And if that's happening, this school is having a big turnaround, probably because of discipline, possibly because of discipline. And you see right away that this is a school for boys only who are looking for jobs like in the not technical field, but like in mechanics and blue collar work, right? And so this teacher is having a tough time. Glenford has a tough time to manage these kids. These kids have a discipline problem, even though the principal, funny in the beginning, says, "Oh, there's no discipline problem here." And I like the film, Ruben. I'm not sure how you felt because you see this teacher struggle throughout the whole film. He has a wife, like I said, played by Anne Francis. She did a great job. A pregnant wife and they're just trying to get by. They're trying to survive. And every day he goes at school, and those kids drive him crazy, right? They are not cooperative. Many of them are involved in gangs, and it kind of reminds me of our beginnings, Ruben, regarding working with tough kids, right? And Glenn Ford never gives up. He actually goes see a former professor in the film to just get some ideas, get some help, and he's even saying, "I'm going to quit," and the professor's like, "No, you're going to be all right." And really, he just keeps at it. He keeps at it, and Ruben, the actors, young actors, like I said, Poitier and Vic Morrow, they did such a great job. And I think this is a film worthy of watching because you even see some of these strategies that Glenn Ford uses. He uses film towards the end of the film, a cartoon to get to the kids so they can have a dialogue. He goes, "Wow, I could use this cartoon to talk about how we should, treat one another, behave," and it worked. It worked. So, Ruben, what did you think? I really liked it. How'd you feel about it?
I really did not like it. And I will say that this is a cartoon. This is absurd. And I will say this is not To Serve with Love. This is not Conrack. This is not Up the Down Staircase. Three films that do this much better, which is a teacher coming in to chaos and learning the rhythms of how to achieve good teaching, how to get there. And it's the real world. When you watch To Serve with Love, you shake your head and you say, "I know that world. I've been there." When you watch, maybe not Conrack, but Up the Down Staircase, for sure. Even though these are movies that are in the past, certainly To Serve with Love, Up the Down Staircase, I have to make these comparisons because it's right around the same era, I would say, as this film. Okay, here are the good points. They show bad teaching. So I will say that. Sure. I will say it's helpful to see poor teaching. There's at one point, I think it's Glenn Ford, might have been the principal, calls out a student publicly, which you don't want to do. "What's your name? What's your name?" And then asking all these questions, and the student becomes true to life, student becomes very defensive. Don't do that. Come around and talk to the student. There's a point where, "Would you like me to take you to the principal?" This is Glenn Ford for sure. No, this is the teacher. "Would you like me to take you to the principal in front of other students?" Don't ask him and don't threaten a kid. Just do it. Otherwise, don't bring it up. It's like, so we talk about cell phones in this podcast. "Do you want me to take away your cell phone?" You lose power. because you just sound like you're barking at a kid with no power. You're not going to do it. Remember the scene? Of course you're not. Of course you remember it. The scene where a student throws a baseball at him.
I actually like that scene. I'll tell you why. But go ahead, tell me why you didn't like it.
Let me ask you a question. What did he do wrong?
Well, I think he was about to do wrong, which is blow up. He did one of the things you don't do. He put his back towards them. Right?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
you don't do that. He
A
blew it,
hundred,
right?
100%. And when I saw that scene, so he turns his back on the class and he writes his name on the board, how to pronounce his name, and a baseball comes flying past his head and takes a chunk off the chalkboard. So he had, just as you mentioned, he had previously been advised not to ever turn your back on these particular students. And when I saw that baseball, which could have killed him or maimed him, I realized, oh, this is a different kind of school. I didn't really understand that until that scene. Let me tell you something. I would not teach the class. This is not business as usual. You break those students in groups. You deal with them in small groups because these are delinquents. These are, as we find out later, these are criminals. Now, let me tell you something. I don't think I did this with any other film that we've seen on this podcast, save for one. I think Chalk, which it wasn't the worst film that we've reviewed, but I just couldn't take Chalk anymore. I think I turned it off because I got the joke and I was uninterested in it. But I hung in there for the class. I hung in there.
That was awful.
That was pretty bad. But I couldn't watch this movie anymore. I had to turn it off after not one, but 2 assaults. There was a sexual assault on a teacher, and he hung in there. Okay, maybe. And then somebody assaulted him and nearly killed his students, nearly killed him. Nope, I got to get back in there. And after a while, I said, you are not a teacher. You are not a good teacher. You are a masochist. If I were his mentor, I would say, you need to leave this school for not getting the support of your admins. You're not a saint for doing this. You're actually harming your school. And man, I couldn't watch it anymore. I guess it made me feel like I was back in those days of chaos, but when I was early in my teaching career, but we had managed chaos. We could figure it out, but this was not manageable. This was not up the down staircase or To Serve with Love. I didn't like it and I couldn't take it.
Before we close, I just want to say this though. I liked it because I don't think I ever thought that he was a good teacher. I don't think that was the point. I think it showed all the things not to do, except the baseball thing. He did the wrong thing by turning his back, but once he had the ball, he could have done a number of things wrong.
No, he did the wrong thing for staying. He should not have.
I understand that. I would say though, there's some people, Ruben, and I think that's what the point of the film was. That you know what, maybe these kids they can be winnable, and I think they show that in the film. If you wait to the end, and so I think everyone's different. You and I we all have different lines where we're going to say I can't take it anymore.
But all we can do though is give us the picture of real life. It's all I could tell you. I understand what the movie was showing. I guess I understand it. But if I were in that position in real life, I would tell that teacher, it has nothing to do with your talent as a teacher or lack thereof. Yes, I don't think you had that much talent, but you need to get out of a dangerous situation because this is real. You and I have known people in dangerous situations. In my opinion, when you're getting assaulted and you got nearly killed by your students, you leave.
No, you make a good point, and he has a wife involved too, and her safety. That's true. I'm just saying that I think they were trying to paint that picture. And you know what? You make some good arguments regarding, hey, would I stay that? I'm not sure. I probably wouldn't stay either if I'm getting assaulted. I can't imagine me getting beat up, almost killed, and staying.
Oh, I always comment when you do the whole. I literally did the whole, like you do sometimes. That really threw me. That literally did that to me. Where I'm like, you think you would leave? Holy smoke.
I don't know. I think
I'm
sometimes
I'm
we
I'm
want to.
speechless. I'm just reacting. I'm
Did you
just
ever
speechless.
see Boys Town? Remember there's a line in Boys Town that says, "There's no bad boy" or something like that. All boys are good. And I think you and I know there's some really bad boys out there.
I, I I
Yeah.
I know, and we met them, but my goodness, there's a line when we used to work at SAIL where we would dismiss students. I've seen you personally dismiss students on the spot. And I've done that when I had power as a
Right.
teacher there. Anyway,
Well,
I've made my point.
thank you. You know, I'd still enjoy, I think it's still worth. Ruben definitely does not give his approval, but I would say this still worth it. Sidney Poitier is wonderful. Glenn Ford, I like Glenn Ford. If you like those actors, give it a try. Vic Morrow as a young man, I think in reality, Ruben, I think Vic Morrow was 25 and Sidney Poitier was like 28, and so these are older guys playing teenagers. But anyway, that being said, thank you for joining us this evening. We will see you next time on Pod and Deliver. And you know what? Why don't you go ahead and press that button, that little bell, and subscribe to us. We'll see you later. Bye bye.